Hello, my beautiful stars. Welcome back to Path of Spirals Tarot. My name is Claire. If you're new around these parts, which you likely are, this is a newer channel. And before we get started with the reading, I want to emphasize how grateful I am for any interactions, anybody who's coming to pay mind to the channel, coming to listen to the messages, accepting the gift, accepting the medicine of what it is I can bring to my YouTube channel. I have been doing this now for just about a month, okay? And to be in a space where I'm able to show up for this routine and just like sacredly do this work, it really means a lot to me. It puts me into such alignment in so many other facets of my life. My energy has just become so much better. My aura has felt so cleansed from getting to do this kind of work. And I really hope that with continued engagement and effort, it's going to continue to grow into something more. And for another, this is a faceless channel. Just getting to do this without added pressures of perception, I think has been really great. I noticed that those channels do really well, where people just come to hear the message. They don't care so much about what the messenger looks like. And in fact, sometimes that can maybe even get in the way of the message. It's been really nice for me to come on and just know that I'm doing this from the the purest place in my heart, and that it's just been such a nice energetic shift, and I'm just so happy that you're here. I genuinely mean that. I don't mean that performatively. I mean it. So thank you for being here. Now today we're just doing a general channeled message. Your job is to pick a pile. Today I have crystals. I have a duck, I have an elephant, and then I have a palm stone of some kind. And you just choose which one resonates, and we're going to get started. We have the Fountain Tarot today. This is my, for me, this is my standard RWS deck. Excuse me. Although it is a little bit more abstract, I kind of prefer it that way. And we'll also be working with another oracle deck that I'm extremely comfortable with. This is the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck by Kim Kranz. We will be pulling on top of that. So the whole plan today is we will pull one establishing tarot card to figure out what dimension or facet of life we're going to be honing in on. We'll pull a couple more tarot cards for that specific establishing card, and then we'll get more specific with oracle. And then we should see a message come through. As simple as that. So are you feeling like a ducky? Are you feeling like a palm stone? Is it a palm stone? It fits in your palm stone in the sense that it's a stone that fits nicely in your palm. And then we have an elephant. So you'll just have to choose, and we will get started. Now typically when I start with group one, I establish a crystalline dome over the reading, but I figure before we start, let's do that now so that all groups feel included. As my throat chakra clears, sorry about that. So today I call in the source's highest energy, the universe, Gus, Hashem, Allah, God, however you connect, whatever ways you're connecting spiritually. As you know, on this channel, spiritual autonomy and just getting a choice over what feels significant to your deepest knowing is very important, that we respect that, however that manifests. But we're calling in that one source energy. Today for this reading, we're calling in angels, archangels, spirit animals, or totem animals. We're calling in ancestors. Specifically, I'm calling in my ancestors to connect with yours across a Kairos timeline. And we put a crystalline dome over the reading to keep sacred energy in and dark energy out. We always call in protective wards. We call in just the highest purpose message for anybody who's viewing this video today. So without further ado, let's start with group one. Okay, group one, I have some tea. This is peach vanilla tea. I'm going to try to drink some of this because I notice my throat chakra is a little, I guess I haven't done much speaking up until now. So let's just hope that that clears up over time, because I don't want to be clearing my throat 20 times while we're doing the reading. So let's get started. Are we getting any impressions about this duck? Something's come to mind. The ugly duckling, the shadow duck. Let's see if that resonates with the reading today. First, we call in one establishing card for the reading. I want to shuffle these quite a bit. One establishing card. What are we going to be focusing on? already the energy feels strong. Hello. Okay, we had something fly out here. We had 2 cards fly out. Ouch. Smack my head on my desk. Okay, we had 2 cards fly out here. We had the 4 of Coins and the Healing card. So something tells me that we are in a space of, healing from something that has happened. Like the 4 of Coins, I've said this before in my videos, 4 of Coins, 4 of Pentacles was a card I was pulling for myself every single time I pulled tarot for like so many years. And this is before I was like super in the know about what all the cards meant. I was pulling cards, but I didn't have like a really, really intuitive understanding of them at the time. I was like, why am I pulling this basic survival card all the time? But these cards indicate a message of how you're healing from survival mode. Because yeah, the 4 of Coins can be about money, but this just indicates a mindset where something has happened in your life that has caused you to sort of hoard and to hold on to an energy, a space and time, because it feels familiar to you and you're not sure who you are without that. It can also indicate there's been a time in your life where you've had to strip things back, simplify things, and just ride out a storm a little bit, but that there's also like a healing element to this, right? The Star card is probably like the most awe-inspiring in this Fountain Tarot. I bought this deck because I saw this card and I was like, who is she? Who is she? She's so pretty. Like that's my kind of deck right there. But yeah, the Star card is about hope. It's about healing. It's about, she has a lot of darkness around her, but like there's this transcendental star in the distance, this light at the end of the tunnel. So the reading already is giving us like that is going to be the vibe. So I'd like to put these back into the deck and let's hone in more on that message, that general theme. What can we specifically pick out about that theme today? Okay. We have the 7 of Wands. That's another survival card, being in defensive mode. Some feeling like you have to stand your ground on something. Okay. Makes sense. The Fountain. Okay, so the Fountain in reverse is the only card in this deck. Like upright is really beautiful. This is the only card in this deck that's separate from the RWS. This is what makes it different. And you can think about the Fountain card upright as like being in flow state, being in alignment, not forcing, just flowing. But in reverse, this has you too much in your logical mind, potentially ruminating, and that like, that the natural way of things is this, but life circumstances have had you in your logic mind worrying, trying to figure out how to get out of the situation. But it's a little bit like quicksand with this. Like logic mind pulls you faster into the quicksand. You know what I mean? Okay. What else? I see it here. Yeah, and then there's been fear. 4 of Swords. A sense of fear whereby it's a little bit about your attitude. Okay, so you've been in a phase of life that feels a little bit like Dark Night of the Soul. There's been an ego death. There's been a shedding happening. And there's been in a sense, of resistance you've had to that shedding because it feels like a lot. And, I would never demonize somebody for having resistance to a change or transition, because not all change is easy. Most of the time it's not. Transitions are spiritually initiatory and they force us into this underground realm. And some of us aren't super comfortable in that place. It forces us into the shadow, and it also forces us to reconcile and let go. Okay. Now, I think if we pull a couple of these cards, let's see, like we're going to ask a little bit for some solution to this phase that you've been in. To be in survival, to have had, this could also indicate like a loss of job, a loss of something, that you've gone through a loss and you're holding on to what you still have, but it has you worrying, it has you in this weird mindset, and it also has you fearing basically about the future. And like Shadow Duck, Shadow Duck. The Shadow Duck says, don't fear, there's a way out, okay? There is a way out. I know this vibe all too well. And sometimes we get into this sort of like phase of life where we just want to be released from this energy. Just say, release me. Like, I don't want to be in this emotional drama of my own life. I don't want to be caught up in my mind anymore. But sometimes your situation has to get so desperate so that part of you that is attached to that familiar hell of survival, you have to fully exhaust that archetype inside of you, that function inside of your mind has to get so worn out. For some people, some people can make adjustments sooner, but sometimes you just get your shit absolutely rocked. That's the only way to shake it loose. It doesn't come just with a polite recommendation. Those have probably been coming, but like, you don't focus on it. So let's see what this deck has in store for focusing on kind of pulling yourself out of that space. Feeling like this one. I want like two maybe. Okay. The River and the Judge. Okay, so the River really is kind of like the Fountain card upright. I've pulled this card a lot of times, and the general vibe of this card is about being in the flow. It's about being in touch with your emotions and getting back into alignment and having discernment with it. Let's pull open this archetypes book, and we can read about the river, because the river is a place and the judge is a self. So you need to get close to water. This is part of what I would say too already, is that water is super regulating. I shower minimum once a day. I use water to cleanse all the time. And sometimes you might be stuck in this logic mind if you aren't like getting your whole body covered in water / sitting next to a body of water like enough. Where are your sources of water where you can go and get your mind right? Because it's hard to just will it. You know what I mean? It's hard to just sit there and be like, I just will be better. Use the allies and the tools of nature that you have around you to get to that place. You know, you can take a horse to water, but you can't get it to drink. Let's see. So let's go to the places. The river. The stream, the flow, and the current, like I said. When this card is in light, it's an acceptance, grace, reflection, and forgiveness. Emphasis on reflection. The horse sees its reflection. When it's dark, there's torment of emotions, flooding, and overwhelm, like we saw here. Okay? There's a reason so many rituals of change and rebirth take place in the river. It's a forgiveness embodied in physical form. Without asking anything in return, the river washes away what is no longer necessary, smoothing over sharp edges and accepting all our mistakes and grievances. Once we step in, we are no longer in control. The river carries us farther down the stream of transformation than we planned to go. Its waters have a special gift for reflecting to us a new and dreamlike vision. Once the tears have passed, we see ourselves as we haven't before, with a little more lightness, grace, and fluidity. Keep in mind, the you that stands within the river is the real you, full of deep emotion and potential, nothing to hide and nothing to judge. Oh, do you hear my jaw dropping? Nothing to judge. May you drink in the sight of your true self. Okay, now I want to remind the viewers, group one, that we live in a time where many of the systems of our society are not sustainable, and the systems are built upon an inauthentic resistance to the flow of nature. That is what we're living in, and many of us are grappling with this as we are doulaing ourselves to a different way of living and existing. In order to get there, we have to embody and be it. We have to use the positive side of this card, the Judgment card, this discernment with focusing on how we want our lives to manifest. It's not in sitting in rumination and fear. I know many of us collectively have a lot of things to feel fearful about, but higher powers harvest fear. They harvest bloodshed. They harvest really dark energies. They just do. But they don't like it when we listen to our deepest inner knowing and find calm and regulation, when we don't abandon ourselves, when we don't self-abuse, we don't self-harm. The systems in place are built on harm. The new world will not be built on that. And the one thing that they would rather do, like the world powers that be, would rather expose themselves so that they can harvest and cash in on more of your fear and hopelessness. They want to distract you. They don't want you to be in flow. If they can keep this card upside down, they'll pay billions or trillions of dollars to do it. They will. Okay? They are doing as much as they can. Like, they are using all of their power, all whatever assets they have in this world, to keep you as distracted as they can from listening to your inner knowing and being in the flow, which is a very futile thing to do. Futile in the sense that the earth was founded on flow. It will always go back to flow. It can't do anything other than flow. The resistance of flow has been because they've been damming up that river. They've been damming it up inside of us. They've been damming it up collectively. They've been literally damming up rivers and polluting the actual water of our rivers for a long time. It won't last forever. However, we can speed up this change by, as cheesy as it sounds, embodying and being that change, showing up in the world, making conscious choices to be in flow. That's a very radical and in some ways dangerous thing to do, but there's nothing else to do other than that. So I want you to use this card, this judgment card. Have discernment about your fear. Have discernment about why you're in this space, so you can get this upright again. And we can turn this over. Okay? And this card's not a bad card. Let's put these like this, okay? This card, being in defense. How can you get this card in light? To not be in survival mode and defending from a sense of like fear, but defending from a sense of integrity. Defending what feels proper and in alignment. How can you have this energy? Imagine that these are the dark forces that be and you're pushing them away, right? But you're pushing it away not through more violence, not through more bloodshed, but through just choosing individually, but on a collective scale, to be not choosing fear, but to just be choosing better energies, higher frequencies. Everything is based on vibes. Again, maybe as cheesy as that sounds, but the frequency has to shift. And it is shifting. But dark forces of the world recognize that there's a spiritual warfare happening right now, and they're working overtime from a very desperate place to try to hold on to this old world mentality. And the time is really up. So when you're feeling like the call to be in flow and you know there's so much about life that doesn't feel authentic and it feels uncanny, it's because it is and it has to die. So be a doula. Doula yourself and doula others in your community. Like be that example of change and stand steadfast in it. Stand in the middle of that river. And chances are, as time goes on, the way I relate to this card is I see, like, I'm somebody who has never really been able to get out of the river. I've always kind of been in the river, and any times I've been masking or trying to participate in this sort of the zeitgeist of our times, if you will, I can only go on shore for so long before I shrivel up and burn out and I get thrown back into the river. For me, when I have been on the shoreline, that's been inauthenticity. That's been trying to participate in society in the ways we are sort of meant to, quote unquote. But I get so dysregulated from it so quickly that I personally have no choice other than to go back into the river and just be myself. And as you age, it gets harder and harder to stay on the shoreline. And you might be feeling that as well. So just sit and visualize. What's the worst thing that could happen if you let yourself be washed over by the depths of your psyche? What's so bad about that? I don't think it's going to kill you. I think it's going to kill off parts of you that have maybe a sense of Stockholm syndrome to the systems of the world that are on their way out. But it's time to let go of that familiar hell lest we get sucked up with it. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel this reading is about today. Just keep swimming. There you go. See, like the duck floats on the river. You don't have to get drowned on the river. You're not drowning on the river. You're floating on top of it. You know what I mean? Look at that. This is going to be you. And notice this is a duck that has a sense of darkness and allure. It's a noir duck. But that's okay. It's a beautiful duck. The black swan almost, if you will. The black swan and the dark horse. This indicates somebody who's sort of integrated the shadows of their lives and can move gracefully. That's going to be your outcome card. All right, group 1. That's what I got for you. Hello, group 2. I have some peach vanilla tea. We just finished up group 1's reading. Oh, I think I feel a sacred sneeze coming. But will it be more than one? The sun is starting to shine also over people's houses across the street. Ooh, I'm being filled with the sun's light. That is a good tea. Peach vanilla. Almost spring-like. You know, I bought some flowers for myself today too. I haven't bought flowers for myself in a very long time. But you know, you gotta love yourself. I can buy myself flowers. All right, so I'm gonna recenter myself. Group 1's reading was definitely what is on a lot of people's minds collectively. That was a pretty powerful message, but I'm trying to just kind of call my energy back to me because this reading will be significantly different, so we need to make sure we're separating ourselves from that reading. All right, guys, let's shuffle it up and see. Shuffle it up, shuffle it out, shuffle. Hello? What's going on? Shuffle it up. Does that sound grammatically correct? Shuffle it out? Anyways, I'm over here being like, I'm a divine channel. And then I'm also over here being like, I don't know phrases and prepositions. All right. 6 of coins. We're going to establish our reading here today with the 6 of coins. So this is going to have to do with, charity, giving, the sort of charitable mindset. I always like seeing this card because it's such a progressive card after 4 and 5 of coins. It's sort of the antidote to the prior 2 lessons of miserliness and impoverished mindset thinking. And it's the antidote to that is by giving in some way. And not just necessarily giving your money, but giving your time, giving your attention, giving your energy, being in a place where you have a little bit more, where it can flow to someplace where there's less. And that also helps with that sort of abundance cycle. So I think we're going to have maybe a little bit of a lesson and a reminder in that realm today. Also, I love the Fountain Tarot's coins or pentacles suit, the greens that they use in these cards in this specific dimension. Oh, I just think it's so pretty. Okay, so let's figure out more deeply what's going on with this reading today. Okay, the Magician reversed. Okay, already somebody who's blocked in their creative potential. Oh. 3 of Swords. Okay. Trying to avoid a heartbreak / missing a heartbreak in some sense. Hold on. Okay. 10 of Coins reversed. Okay, so right now already I'm seeing we are starting at a place of creative stagnation. Because this card indicates to me within this reading that you are afraid of failing. So you're not starting. And then the outcome is, well, a lack of emotional, spiritual fulfillment because you didn't do the thing. You also are maybe not believing in your ability to give the gifts that you were given when you were born. Okay. I'm going to pull a couple more. Okay. Seems that you might be spending more of your time moving laterally by way of like maybe distracting yourself with connections to people, maybe going out, delaying the work you're here to do, getting immediate gratification from hanging out with people or wanting to be in the know about what other people are doing. It's giving a little bit of like reality TV show binging. It's giving going out to the club when maybe you should be getting 9-10 hours of sleep at night. Yeah, that's a cycle of life. It's people do that, I guess, you know, it happens. But then the outcome is actually the card prior to the 6 of Coins is the 5 of Coins, right? Like it's somebody who's freezing out in the cold. So guys, the current vibe is you're sort of in a place of immediate gratification because you are not really believing in yourself. You don't like the prospect of failure and or the feeling of, but then the result is not feeling emotionally fulfilled. So you're distracting yourself by going out and getting immediate gratification from whatever veins you sort of seek that out. But then it's delaying you more. And it creates this sense of not having enough, like a lack of abundance because you're not nourishing yourself from within. Okay, now that's kind of the whole vibe of what's going on. I like to use the archetype cards because it gives us a good idea of what we can do to counteract that energy. What's a good wisdom for you today? The Eternal Child makes sense. Let's see if there's one more. Something maybe under here. Yeah, and the Destroyer. Okay. Well, you have two interesting cards. I think these are both self cards. The Eternal Child is the fourth card in the selves portion of this deck. And this is the archetype inside of you that is the most powerful, but is often, like, as you get older, the most suppressed. The Eternal Child is like literally, like, this is a call to do inner child work and figure out in what ways you are sort of squelching this inner child, and you need to destroy those archetypes inside of you. Typically, these are parental functions that you have. You have like different selves, like not that you have multiple personalities in like the diagnosable sense, but just people in general. Like they have multiple different like selves inside of them that are like, especially when it hasn't been alchemized into something more positive, like the number one goal, I think, before you've had more spiritual initiation into accepting this card is to go to great lengths to repress it. So it sounds like group 2 has been in this sort of repressive era with the Eternal Child. Okay, now I want to pull all these cards this side. We're going to just talk about the Eternal Child, the lesson of the Eternal Child. Okay, because that's what we need to talk about here. That's what this is all about. Now, the Eternal Child, when I visualize mine, and I want you to stop here now and visualize yours, is a part of you that I tend to see people always in their mind's eye have a vision of what their inner child looks like. If you've never really thought about this before, I want you to stop now and visualize. What is your inner child doing? I've seen my inner child in two ways. Before I started working with my inner child and doing shadow work around it and accepting it and doing the work I do now, my inner child was either running through the forest away from me and I could never get a hold of her, or two, sitting in a cage that I had put her in. And she was very disinterested in anything I had to say. She was petulant, she wouldn't listen to me, and she always finds a way to slip out of the cage and run away. So I have experienced a lot of discontent. My parental functions, like the parts of me that have wanted to suppress this, have always felt very, up until more recently when I started to accept my Eternal Child for like who she is and like the power that she actually has. My parental functions that were trying to squelch and suppress this were always feeling like I was always like saying, like, you know, my inner child was on bad behavior. I was like shaming my inner child. There was just like a lot of harshness that was being put on my inner child. Now you might have the same kind of harshness, right? You have this destroyer energy where like, wouldn't it be nice if you could just get this child to just behave? You know, like this card is trying to do that and trying to be the front and center. We need to rechannel this energy and say the destroyer is not meant to destroy the inner child, but it is meant to destroy the parts of your psyche that don't allow your eternal child to play. Okay? So the Eternal Child's at the very beginning here. This is the inner child, the child of joy. When this card is light, it's joyful, playful, accepts all, has magic. When dark, it's addicted, selfish, adrift, and burns out. Now, when I saw that Three of Cups cards, this is also telling me there might be some other type of addictions that you're going through that will fade away. It will be much easier to metabolize and alchemize addictions if you have one. Alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, when this gets the attention that it needs. Okay? Never think that unrelated parts of your life are unrelated. Every part of your life is deeply, intimately interconnected, okay? So every facet of your life where you have one problem, it's not just causing a problem in that specific area of your life. It is causing a cascade of issues in many other facets of your life. Chronic dissatisfaction. And yeah, the shadow side of this card getting to be front and center, okay? Pretty intense. Now the Destroyer card is going to be, let's see here. The Destroyer is page 107. The savage, the unexpected, and the rejected. When it's in dark, it's self-destruction, negativity, and unwillingness to rebuild. when it's light, swift, and precise blows that redirect our life. That's exactly what we want to see happen. The thing is, this is what is coming your way. This isn't just a potential of, oh, this might happen. No, this is what is entering your life now. And if you choose to use this energy to redirect the energies that are holding you back, like that is going to be so much better for you than continuing to self-sabotage, okay? So in the old myths, this is a moment when heads begin to roll, the ground opens up, a castle crumbles. Hold on for the ride, the destroyer has arrived. Well, it sounds like group 2, you have your work cut out for you. But I want you to sit and focus on like things that are going to start happening in your life. People falling away, addictions falling away, emotional dramas falling away. These sort of like unsustainable house of cards. It's sort of giving like the behavior of people in their early 20s, which you could be older than that. I'm not saying that there's an age limit, or an age range to this kind of stuff, but it's just this is a cycle of life that needs to wrap itself up, or else it's going to consume you. And why not? Why wouldn't you want to change it? On the other side of that is going to be the card, the Six of Coins, being more giving, being in light, being in alignment, and not wasting any more of your time. Yeah, the last thing I'll say about this is like sometimes we move through life thinking we have all the time in the world to accomplish things. We procrastinate, we put things off. I'm telling you, you don't have that much time. You do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Don't let your procrastination let you go another day being harsh on yourself or being superficial or being afraid of what it might mean to live a more deeply fulfilling life. Because this life is fleeting and you came here to figure out what life could look like if you listened to that inner knowing and that guidance. You didn't come here to reject it. You didn't come here to ignore it. You came here to listen to it. That's why you're here in this temporal reality that's going to go away, and you won't be here for long. So you came here with that inner knowing for a reason. The lesson of life was not to come here to suppress it. Nobody came here to Earth and had a successful, good, positive go of it by suppressing themselves their whole lives. That usually means they're going to the next life, going to this sort of void place, this purgatory place where they have to work on that and maybe come back and work on it again. We don't want that for you. Okay, so this is a wake-up call to say, let this destroyer energy eat away at the parts of you that are getting you blocked. Okay? Because this is a card that is worth knowing. And I'd love to know who you are when this is something that gets nourished on a daily basis and not the shadow side of this. Okay? Outside of a tarot reading, if there are addiction things involved and mental health things involved, I want to stress that very, very highly that support systems and networks are super important. Don't do all this in isolation. Reach out to people. Ask for help. Because before you know it, you're going to be in a place where you're able to give and pass that on. Never feel afraid or ashamed or guilty of reaching out and asking for help when you need it. Because we all go through cycles and seasons of giving and receiving. Okay? All right, thank you, group 2. Okay, group 3, 2 very heavy and different readings for groups 1 and 2. So I called my energy back to me to channel this last message with our elephant. Trunk up, foot front. It's supposed to be good luck, right? Well, let's see. Let's pull an establishing card and let's see what this reading is going to be about today. Okay. Six of Swords. Taking a break, taking a beat. Escapism. Having to do something with thoughts, the mind, conflict. Okay. That's going to be our establishing card. Let's figure out more what's going on with that. Pulled it again. All right. All right, I guess she's like, I said what I said. It's the Six of Swords. Okay. Justice reversed. Oh, okay. Page of Swords reversed. Five of Coins reversed. Okay. All right, you need to take a break from something. Feels like there has been a situation that you got the short end of the stick about. Hence the Justice in reverse card, this feeling of things not really working in your favor. Something having had happened that wronged you and there was no outward manifestation of the righting of the scales. Otherwise we would have seen this upright. We have a Page of Swords in reverse. I'm reading this as another person. So this would be an individual in your life that has to do with all of this, who is immature and not good with their words, causing harm when they don't know that they're causing harm. The Five of Coins in reverse. That's interesting. I'm actually gonna grab the little book for this. Honestly, I don't think I've ever pulled either of these in reverse in my whole life. That's crazy. It's crazy, guys. Okay, Page of Swords. An inability to cope with the unexpected, a fraud, ill-preparedness, childish cruelty, vulnerability or weakness. Yeah, I'm seeing like childish cruelty, fraudulence, just like an individual that you're moving alongside that you just like need a break from, that has been causing you a whole world of discomfort and tension. And then the Five of Coins, renewed courage, impending opportunity or change for the better, peace of mind and evolution in spirit. Okay, yeah, so like there's a signal that you are just taking a beat from, like having gone through a situation where this person seems to it's sort of almost like Five of Swords, like win the argument, lose the war, but this person is currently like in the immediate future, like the immediate like present moment, has kind of a leg up over you. I have a friend in particular that always has this dynamic going on where this person is a really smooth talker and they're very like fraudulent. They're giving like Better Call Saul and bureaucratic paper pushing. This is almost giving like issues within like a co-parenting situation, divorce, co-parent, familial thing, whereby you're always acting with integrity, they're not, but when they don't act with integrity, they actually kind of seem to get further in the justice system. But like, like it kind of flabbergasts you because maybe you don't have the same kind of street smarts, but you definitely have your heart in the right place. But the cards are indicating that you taking a break and removing yourself is going to actually give you a renewed sense of hope. And really, I do think spiritually, people who go through divorces with this sort of like childish, narcissistic type of individual being on the other side of it, is that your lesson is to learn detachment. And that's such a hard thing to learn. You have to learn detachment by centering yourself and increasing your own self-worth. And that's a really big task to take on as somebody who probably grew up not feeling really loved or really like fully seen or heard. But there's an indication here that like you need your outer reality to be so unfair that you kind of go back to the drawing board and say, I'm gonna try to take another approach with your locus of control being more internalized, less externalized, so that you're not really feeling this way. Because I would imagine that like if you put this up right here, feeling left out in the cold, and in this particular picture, it's like a mother with her child not having like things taken care of for them. This has maybe been an energy at the beginning, but the cards are indicating that the tides are shifting, but you actually have to make the energetic choice to continue to create restrictions around what kind of access this person gets to you. And that might not be very simple when you have children. But there is, I'd say 50% of it is more on you to make more decisions about what information this person's getting about you and what kind of reactions they're getting out of you. And it sounds like you're already kind of on the right track, because if you can kind of like, if the shoreline and the land here indicates like a way back to him and you're going away from that, that's like such a good energy. It's already visiting you. So the cards are indicating that this is exactly what you need to be doing. So let's see if we can get any more supplemental supportive cards here. Hello. Supportive cards for this reading. There's one. Let's just do one more. Okay. Yeah, they have the Orphan, which makes sense. And the Bridge. That also makes sense. Okay, so let's almost flip these over here. I want this one to go first, and then I want the Bridge to come second. So the Orphan is a card that I think this is indicating back to your childhood. Like if you want to heal the symptoms of like the lack of justice and like the presence of this person person in your life and the impact they still have on like your nervous system, you gotta go way, way, way back beyond the point of having, you know, if you had kids with this person or getting in a relationship with them, you need to go way further back than that. They're a symptom. They're a symptom of like deeper wounds that come from childhood, hence the orphan card. Now, I'm not saying that you didn't have parents, but this is like a proximal abandonment, a sensation of being surrounded by people, but still being like orphaned from them. This is also like a collective lesson when we're living in the societies we do with these sort of neurotic nuclear family structures, lack of tribal community, lack of people around us that just kind of organically coexist with us in this sort of laid back way by which we can support one another and see the blind spots of each other. When we don't have that, it creates isolation, and in its worst manifestation is creating the sort of Five of Swords or, you know, court card in reverse type of energies in people. Like, these are the people that are choosing to try to get ahead in the system that is causing harm to others like you. But this card is saying you need to address orphan energy inside of you. In what ways have you felt separated or wronged or slighted from a very young age? Like, what's your first memory of that? How was that reinforced and why? And if you want a medicine from that, then you have to create bridges and work vertically with your guides. This is like a spiritual card. You have to create more connections to whatever energies are allies to you that are going to help you feel empowered in yourself. You can find some of those bridges by networking in the physical world, but this is also a card that indicates something medicinal for you. Could be shamanic journeying, shadow work. I mean, I always recommend shadow work. If we're getting difficult cards like this, there's probably shadows to work on. But shamanic journeying, different ways to get into your deepest inner knowing. And you have to create those bridges because you want to, and you anticipate giving and receiving a sense of love and trust in that connection. It could be ancestrally, it could be with a totem animal, it could be, you know, a mandala, whatever it is. But embracing the sense of connection and unity that is hard to get in with people. You can get it sometimes, but it's much easier and far more abundant to get it in those higher subtle realms that we have access to while we are here. Now, it was indicating to me is that the orphanage that you kind of went through is because you've always been sensitive. But it's like you grew up sensitive without tools on how to build these bridges and how to embrace this energy. And so you've been stuck in this super misaligned vibe here. And it's just getting to the point where you've really had enough of it and you're looking for a new way to exist in your reality. And it's like a chrysalis. Hence why you kind of have like this good luck. Like you have like the good luck energy entering you here, which I think is super great. That's like, this is honestly, as like heavy as some of these cards and these themes were, this is probably the most positive outlook kind of like vibe I've gotten in the spread for all three groups today. So it has to get a little bit darker before it gets lighter, but I love this card so much. I used to pull this card in my shadow all the time before I was doing shamanic journeying, before I was more clear on what my spirit guides and totem animals are, before I had a better, clearer, conscious understanding of the liminal imaginal landscapes that inform me intuitively. When I wasn't super sure about those energies, I didn't have as many bridges. And this card I've also pulled as a core lesson for myself as well. And this is also a card I pulled because I didn't know my biological father growing up. And I dealt with a very unique like father wound, orphan energy growing up. And also dealt with a lot of suppression by which this card was in my shadow up until I was like an adult. And so I'm never surprised to see these two cards be at the function if you're somebody who also is dealing with like a relational dynamic with somebody who's just always shafting you and you've just had enough. And I actually really love seeing the Five of Coins be in reverse here. Like things are going to turn around, but you get to choose. And you already kind of did. So it's kind of just giving you more of a spread of like what is to come, which is super great. So good luck. You're not really going to need it. The luck's already arrived. Thank you, Group 3. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Path of Spirals Tarot here on YouTube. My name is Claire. If you like readings 5 days a week, you can find them here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have larger group readings Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I have shorter group readings Tuesday and Thursday. And you can also find me on TikTok as well, where I do a tarot game show. That's more of a place where I'm teaching people, helping them with memorization and recall of the tarot cards by way of like dopamine and chunking it up and making it easy and kind of fun and a little bit competitive in a good way to learn the cards. So if you'd also like to learn tarot a little bit better and have a fun, low threshold, low stakes way to do that, you can find me on TikTok at Path of Spirals. You'll see me there. And more offerings and things are to come with time. So thanks for sticking around and subscribing. Let me know in the comments down below which group you picked. Did any of them resonate? Did you really identify with the shadow duck, the palm stone, or the lucky elephant? You'll have to let us all know in the comments, okay? All right, have a great day. Bye. See you in the next one.